one of the most exciting matches that we've seen all weekend, but he's got his hands full. And the surging Dominic Mejia took out both Corbet brothers, and then perennial star Keith Krikorian to make it to the final.
It's going to be an absolutely amazing night of action. The finals are going to kick off in just a little bit, and we're so excited for it. It's going to be Jake Watson on the mic along with Brandon McCaffrey. You guys can follow along at FloGrappling.com. Stay here live, and we're about to get it going. So let's do this, Brandon. Let's get this going.
Dude, I'm pumped.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're kicking it right off. From pre-show right into the match is going to be Dan Manasoiu of New Wave Jiu-Jitsu versus what I think would be considered an arch nemesis of his, Damon Ramos of Renzo Gracie.
Yeah, maybe he's an arch nemesis, but I don't think that Big Dan's worried. He's had Ramos' number in these opens, man.
And we're off.
And Big Dan has made easy work of everybody he's gotten his hands on this weekend. I don't think he spent more than 2 minutes on the mat with anybody.
Look at the crowd that has formed in the Avalon Ballroom here as well. Dan going for his, I would say, signature. Oh my goodness! Damon Ramos immediately takes the match to the ground, not 30 seconds into the match.
But you know, despite his, oh look at this.
The false reap.
And nice job by Ramos clearing the knee. Despite his big imposing figure, you know, Dan likes to play that guard, and he's very good at creating off balances, getting underneath his opponent, entering the legs. But this is really, oh, he's going for that knee bar.
Something he is so good at. We saw him use that at the UFC Fight Pass Invitational as well.
Steps around. Ramos doing a good job fending him off so far, but Big Dan, he let go of the body lock. Ramos creating a knee shield here. He wants to pummel that butterfly hook back in. But Dan's got him flattened out. Bad spot for Ramos.
These two shared the mats at the ADCC Chicago Open as well in the Absolute Division. And it was Dan Manasoiu who was able to wear down the guard. Oh, look at that. Damon Ramos.
Big Dan felt a little bit of a threat, and he sat back quick. Ramos testing out this Aoki lock.
Yeah, in their last match, it was Dan Manasoiu was able to wear down the guard of Damon Ramos, but will Damon Ramos be able to keep a more active guard this time? Looks like a little bit of a switch. And you know, what was a bumbling and loud ballroom earlier on in the day has become a respectful silence.
Back to the butterfly hooks for Ramos. Big Dan stepping over, looking to clear that knee, and he does, and he's got Ramos flattened out. He's got the underhook. Now working into double underhooks, cuts the hips, putting the pressure down on the upper body, and here he goes stepping around and passing the guard.
This match, a finals match, is slated for 8 minutes. So the halfway point of this match will be 4 minutes in which points will come into effect.
Ramos leaving his leg behind there in the half guard. He's got to be careful. Dan loves that dog bar. knee bar done with the legs and the hips.
Yeah, a knee bar that's traditionally done from the over-under pass.
Yes,
But Dan's so big, he can just make it happen.
He makes it happen. And here he goes, tripod up. Here comes the shoelaces to the inside. And Ramos, again, saves that pass. Ramos doing a good job with his guard retention so far. 2 underhooks for Manasoiu. Trades off, looking for the crossface. There it is.
Able to create a little bit of space for the time being is Damon Ramos. But once again, floating past the leg.
And you can see on Ramos' face that he's wearing this weight. Dan slowly grinding him out as we approach about 25 seconds now until the points are active. Stepping over, clears it into the mount. This bad spot for Ramos.
Definitely.
Already into the chopping block, thinking about the arm triangle.
Damon trying to kip up and get a little bit of space to get perhaps a hook back in.
You heard it there. Points are now active. Ramos tries to bump those hips. Dan's going to try to smother him.
Something that Dan has become, I would say, famous for.
Yeah, absolutely. For good reason. Ramos up to his hip here. And he pulls back in. Nice work by Ramos. Saved himself from a position that not many people survive. Dan, though, immediately
very
over
tough
the guard
spot,
again.
though.
He's going to score here.
As soon as he got an opportunity.
Big Dan up 3-0 off of that guard pass. Willingly put himself back into the half guard. Dan staying low and heavy. Controlling the hips. Ramos, big, straight frames trying to push him away.
Trying to get a little teeter to one side just to get back a part of an underhook.
Ramos switching off to the lockdown. Dan drops his hip, immediately shuts that off. Heavy pressure. Uses that to pass again into the mount. He'll get 3 more for that pass. Let's call it 2 more. There it is. There's the 6. And again, Ramos able to sneak his way back into the guard. 2:20 to go. Dan just passing at will now.
My goodness.
It's another one that's going to make it 9-0. Got him.
Dan Manasoiu hits a smother in the finals of ADCC East Coast Trials. Punches his ticket to ADCC Worlds 2024 at the T-Mobile Arena. Wow. What a way to kick things off here in the finals, BMAC.
Just a dominant performance once again from Dan Manasoiu. He's so much better than he was at this time last year. Like, just his technical skill has just taken tremendous leaps. You can tell he's been putting in hard work in the gym.
Here's a little look at that replay, Brandon.
And it was early play by Ramos to put him on his back, but it was just the pressure from Big Dan, non-stop, able to pass multiple times, just wore Ramos down to the point where the smother choke was just too easy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after a quick break.